It's pretty good. Hey, everybody, welcome to our daily touch base on Martinis with Scott. If you hear that noise in the background, it's my Canon printer trying to figure out how to print my notes for this show. Then I jotted down a couple of notes. Word to the wise, if you're a home office person, which we all are these days, don't buy Canon. This printer is just a piece of crap. Never had a problem with an HP before. So I'll probably be going back to that. I started Martinis with Scott. There was a whole bunch of reasons. I'm sorry for that noise in the background. It's driving me nuts. But I started Martinis with Scott for a bunch of reasons. But one of them was that there's this whole entrepreneurial initiative. It's so cool to be an entrepreneur these days. Everybody's pushing that on social media. You listen to the coaches and the life coaches, business coaches, people giving advice, which is a whole industry now. And it's being an entrepreneur. And 90% of businesses fail. So part of Martinis with Scott is trying to provide some advice for these businesses. I just have to turn this printer off. It's driving me nuts. 1 second. Sorry about that. Hopefully that works and I get some peace and quiet here. Do not buy a Canon printer. So not everybody's cut out to be a leader. That's where I'm heading with all this before I was rudely distracted there. Not everybody is cut out to be a leader. To be a leader, you have to have a certain level of fortitude, clarity, toughness. You have to not care very much what other people think of you, what other people say about you. And as I see people on social media making posts, and then there's negative comments, and it just turns them into a turtle. They just back off from their position, from their authenticity, because they got some pressure from the outside world. That's not leadership. They can't deal with that negativity all the time. And when I'm helping business owners and leaders of businesses that are troubled, I see that they're unable to face and diffuse heated situations, right? Because when you get into financial trouble, now you got people angry with you. It turns personal. We've done some shows with Rob Fraser on the Martinis with Scott channel and on Clubhouse, where we've talked about his former business partner situation, immediately turned personal. You have to be able to handle this. Can you believe this computer is still making noises and freaking out over here? Sorry, this printer. Don't buy a Canon. I don't know if I mentioned that yet, but Canon printers are just the worst piece of crap. Maybe if I unplug it, bear with me 1 second. There we go. The beauties of live streaming. I've just unplugged the printer and now I'm a happy person. All right, let me read you some emails and give you some examples on this, or read you some things from my phone that I jotted down. And we're doing a restructuring at Navani Stainless, and if you're a follower of the channel, you'll know that we're going through that restructuring. And part of that restructuring is the company owes millions of dollars to people from the past. And although the company's on the right foot now and things are going great, it needs to restructure its balance sheet. As I've said to the employees, it's like, let's say you're a laborer and you're making $20 an hour, and then all of a sudden you've done great and you get a promotion, you get a raise, and now you're making $25 an hour. More or less terrific news, except for something from your past. You owe the bank $5 million, right? So making $5 an hour more isn't really helping the problem, right? So you need to restructure the past. And so we've been going through that process, and Navani should have restructured before I showed up, but it didn't. And so now the job is left to me. And so you get angry creditors, people that aren't getting paid 100 cents on the dollar from the past. And a couple of weeks ago, I was having a late night ongoing email stream with one of these particular creditors, and I won't mention their name right now, but they verbally attacked a female staff member of mine who was sending out an email just providing some information, and they swore at her by email. And so I jumped in naturally to protect that employee. And, just as a just as an example of an extract from one of these emails, this person said to me in an email, is the bullshit is your employees are under the impression that you are coming good on these debts. I've had 3 separate employees from Navani indicate this to me, as that is the spin you put on it. You have zero morals and screwed us, complete greaseball. Okay. So there's a personal attack that, sounds terrible when you receive it by email, but is completely something that happens in this business. And again, it's not just me in a restructuring. You're thinking to yourself, well, I'm not going through a restructuring. I don't have this problem in my business, or in your personal life, I don't have this level of problem. But it happens all the time. Again, we had this show with Rob Fraser, and we were talking about partnerships that turn bad, which is a lot of partnerships. And, it very often turns personal. And as a leader, personal and negative and aggressive. And as a leader, you have to be able to find a way to deal with that. That's what we're talking about today. Here's another situation where it was not personal about me, but this happened the next day after I got the greaseball email. And this is from another company that I am president of. And let me give you the extract. And this is from a statement that was taken. Employee A, I'm going to change the names, obviously. A came up to me and was explaining to me how upset he was with the situation that had happened the other day before with B. He then went on to tell me at 8 a.m. he was going to go out to his truck and get his gun and carry it on him, since B assaulted him at work with no consequences. He then expressed that if B were to touch the extraction, I shouldn't even say that, were to touch the certain office room door, that he would shoot him in the head, and that the cops wouldn't do anything because he had it coming. And a few minutes later, A had come up to me again and said he was done and was going to blow up the whole place with a bomb. All right. So this is an email that I get as a president of this organization. And how would you deal with that as a leader? Do you have the strength and the fortitude and the clarity of thought to deal with these things? I was working on a drilling company. I think most of this is public information. I was working on a drilling company a few years ago, and we had a hostile stakeholder in that business, and he had a lot of grievances that were irrational, but he also had a lot of pressures, and he had a lot of grievances that were rational. He threatened employees. He carried a knife. He threatened me. At one point, we had to install security systems, and we had taped the this was in Canada, so we had taped the phone number for the local RCMP police detachment on a speed dial on everybody's phone in the office. I've dealt with companies that have had organized crime, stealing commodities out the back door in large quantities. I've dealt with companies with white-collar crime where we've had to confront and put in systems and get rid of the bad guys. Lawsuits, obviously, regulatory suits. These are the things that happen. You may think to yourself, holy crap, Scott, you're a bad leader and you shouldn't be involved in these situations. But if you're entrepreneurial, if you're working in turnaround, if you put yourself front and center to deal with difficult situations, this is the kind of stuff that happens. It can be personal, it could be not personable, and really, but yet really hostile and difficult and shaking to your core and paralyzing to your ability to actually act in the face of all that. Here's some hints as to how to be a stronger leader when faced with these situations. Number one, you have to have clear priorities. So what does that mean for me? My priority, I've defined my job as in turnarounds as saving or creating jobs in Canada, in the US, whichever the case may be, because I operate in both countries, or whatever jurisdiction. We've worked in 27 countries over the last 5 years, I think, or 7 years, somewhere in that range. But wherever I am, I'm trying to save jobs and or create jobs. And I like doing that. It's something that is motivating to me. It gets me up in the morning. I know that there's employees relying on me to win, to succeed in whatever battle that I'm in and whatever leadership challenge that I'm facing. And their families in turn are relying on them, and the local shopkeepers where they buy their groceries or whatever are relying on me. Everybody's relying on me to succeed is the way that I think about it. But because I have that clarity, and I can focus on one thing, it happens to be one thing that If I make a decision in favor of that, it's rarely the wrong decision. When you're dealing with a hostile situation, you have competing forces. You don't have abundance. You can't come up with a solution for everybody. The restructuring of Navani is evidence of that. We just don't have enough money in this deal, in this company, to deal with all the problems of the past. So what's the choice? The choice is shut down, get rid of all the people, or the stakeholders from the past, the creditors from the past, have to have a haircut. They're not going to get all their money. There needs to be restructuring. Something needs to give. That's the whole point of a troubled situation, is you need to make the tough decisions. Okay, and part of making a tough decision is to be damn clear on what your priorities are and to internalize those. For me, it's super clear, because I've learned over the years to make it super clear. And the answer for me is saving jobs, okay? And this applies to everything you're having difficulty with. Part of your marriage, then what's your priority? Is it you and your freedom? Is it you and your ego? Is it the marriage itself? You have to have a priority, and that's not easy to figure out. But once you figure it out, the decisions are easy, right? The decisions are easy, and the heat that you take from the external stakeholders becomes less painful. The second thing you need to do on top of priorities is lead with empathy. Lead with empathy in every hostile situation, or just generally in life. But you lead with empathy. I listen to Gary Vee a lot as one of my regular podcast things that I listen to, and he's always asked, how do you, as a social media person, if you're putting posts out, how do you deal with negative comments? And there's a lot of answers of Gary Vee that I don't like very much. I like it, but I think his answers need to be nuanced, because they lead people in the wrong direction. I'll talk about that someday, particularly on happiness. I think he's off base there. But on this one, he's dead on. He just laughs. He laughs and he says, who has the time to sit around in their life and troll people on Twitter or on Instagram comments or Facebook comments, whatever it is? Who does that? Who does that? And the person that does that, we need to have some empathy for that person and some sympathy for that person. And that's a great way to lead in any hostile situation. When you're the leader, you need to have priorities, and you need to lead with empathy. Where I'm in time here, I'm pretty good, but I think that's all I have for you today. Not everyone is cut out to be a leader. Not everyone will be a good leader. Think about it. Maybe you should be a number 2. Maybe you should be a number 5 in someone else's organization. But if you're going to be a leader, you need to know what you stand for. And then you can deal with these. You can deal with these attacks. Thanks, everybody. We're releasing the Thursday cocktail show, the Martinis with Scott, this afternoon. I won't actually be physically present having a drink, because we're showing you last week's employee address from Navani Stainless. Hope you're doing well. Talk to you later.